Find a place to put my other foot.
I have a place I could put my other foot. Coming to you freshly live from the taproom floor at the Greenville Beer Exchange, or GBX as the cool kids call it, on South Lawrence Street and glorious, I forgot where we were for a second, on South Lawrence Street and glorious downtown Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Russ Heaps, and welcome to this episode of Big John and Five, where I get my good buddy here, Big John Richards, to grab a beer from one of GBX's 22 or so taps or hundreds of cans and bottles up in the retail store. We sniff, sip, kibitz. Sometimes John tells us a little bit about the history of brewing. He almost always fills us in on some details on the brewers themselves. And having said that mouthful, John, what do we got?
Let's just get going here.
I know.
Beer number
Jeez.
one of the day. So let's get this show on the road.
Exactly.
So we're doing an Allagash beer, Allagash Winter White. And I went looking to try and figure out if it was related in any real way to Allagash White, which is their flagship. And I can't tell. Allagash, they're a big enough brewery now, still a private, the little family owned thing or a little thing. I don't know if it's family owned, but they're 25 years old probably now. I couldn't even find that on their website. It was just,
Really?
lots of things about the environment and all the things they do for the state of Maine, which is great. They're in Portland, Maine, and they are a very environmentally conscious brewery, giving back to the community, conscious brewery. They were founded on kind of a Belgian idea of brewing, and that's part of the Belgian idea anyway, is that the brewery should give back to the community, and they do. So there's a lot about that on their website, but not a lot about where they started and the ingredients they use, which is another Belgian thing that they don't want to talk about.
It's a secret.
Yes. So the winter white here is called Ski House. I think it's called
Right.
Ski House.
Here we go off the rails, right from the
It's the
get-go,
way it goes.
episode one.
That's the way it goes. I did all my homework, then I sat down, tried to figure out how old Allagash was, and now I'm lost. I can't remember a thing. I don't remember how big this thing is. So I think it's like almost 7%, 6.5 or 6.7, something like
I
that.
can't see the boards blocked for me.
Russell just corrected me down below. There's no need for us to, belabor this point. But it's a really neat beer. In fact, when it came out this year and I saw that it was a winter white, I was like, wow. Last year I thought Ski House was a IPA, but it wasn't. It's always been a winter white, but it's always a big spicy beer, and they're brewed with ginger. So it's got that little bite to it as well. So it's a really bright, brisk, fresh Belgian style wit beer, but on the big side of the alcohol side too. So it's a really, really neat beer. And I thought this would be a fun way for us to, kick off the day.
Kick off the day. Let's kick
So
off the day.
let's kick off the day.
Well, I'm excited because Allagash makes one of my favorite beers, which is Curio.
Oh, yeah. That shouldn't exist.
Text Miss Lily.
Ah, that's just delightful. And you really can, it's sitting here sipping it. It's very easy to identify that it's a Belgian style wit beer, but it's much bigger than typical for a Belgian style. It's so good. It's making my mouth water.
It is.
It's got that fresh orange peel coriander spiciness that's the typical. And then that ginger just lingers around and gets stronger and stronger the more it sits on my tongue. Wow. I need to take another sip. You talk.
Wow, is that good? How was that?
See, that's all
That was
it took.
That was a good space
That's all
filler,
it took.
right?
Man, that is such a neat beer.
You are absolutely right. It's very crisp, very little bit of, I don't know whether I would say sourness to it, but it's got some tartness to it.
Yeah.
And then that ginger thing is pretty prevalent even on the nose. And I don't have a good As anybody who watches this thing knows, I don't have a good smeller, but I can even get the ginger off.
Yeah,
This.
it's prevalent. I don't think it's far from overwhelming, but it's pretty easy to get that ginger to pop if you're thinking about it. But it blends right into the beer more and more. There's so much going on there because the Belgian yeast, I think, is what's giving it what's triggering that sort of tart response in your brain and in my salivary glands, like I said. That Belgian yeast makes it a little earthy. You get that coriander right up front. Then you get the ginger and that earthy yeast finish on the end.
Right.
Ugh.
Well, here's one of my, speaking of ginger. Wow, this is a long way around to get to this. Speaking of ginger, this is one of my FAQs. So, which was your favorite, Ginger or Marianne?
Oh, I was definitely a Marianne person. I
Me
was a
too.
Marianne person.
Me too.
Yeah.
Even today,
Yeah.
in my advanced age, I don't think I would still find ginger particularly alluring.
I didn't find so attractive. Absolutely alluring. I wanted to be I wanted to make friends with Marianne much more than I wanted to
Oh,
make
yeah.
friends with Ginger.
Friends is a euphemism for
Yes, make friends.
we of course are talking about the two single ladies on Gilligan's Island, the TV show. But
Yeah, I suppose that probably needs a little bit of a thing there. 'Cause that
well,
was,
for anybody,
what, 50 years ago?
yeah, anybody who's
Goodness.
probably younger than about 45
Yeah. Well, what a great show that was. What a fun time.
was.
So, to wrap this up and keep it somewhere in the vicinity of 5, we got to get at least one of those in. Just Allagash real fast is in Portland, Maine, and they've been a stalwart in craft beer for so long. And I talk about Allagash White, like I said at the beginning of the show. I have said many times I think Allagash White is more responsible than any other beer in craft for converting Bud Light drinkers. I think more people have converted to craft over Allagash White than any other beer in craft. It's just such a clean, easy intro beer that is
Gateway.
it's
gateway
a
beer.
gateway beer, but it's a beer that continues to be exciting. Even though when I first got into craft, I was like, oh, this beer's bland. But I was drinking, the 10, 11, 12% IPAs at the time. It was the early 2000s, and it was the race to 1,000 IBUs. And Allagash White was like, but it's a great beer. And so is this one.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah,
I really like this.
I'm really glad we started the day with this one.
We happen to be shooting this the day before Thanksgiving, 2024. And just in case we make it another 3 or 4 years doing this. And I'm picking out some beers to take to the house where I'm going for Thanksgiving tomorrow. And I think this has made that list.
Excellent. It's good to get one to make the cut right off the wagon. Yeah, right off the
bat. If it hadn't taken an hour to set all this stuff up, we'd just call it a day because I got done what I wanted to get done today. So anyway, anything
there it
else?
is. Now let's let these nice people go.
All right. So damn lucky. See you next time.